Hello. In this section, we'll discuss cross-cultural communication. This type of communication involves an understanding of how people in the global teams from different cultural backgrounds, how they speak, how they communicate, how they perceive the world and respect each other. We mainly discuss the main issues, survey results, best practices, and a brief discussion. The first issue is the language barrier. It is always hard to overcome. Different accents and multilingualism can always cause some misunderstandings. To be honest, sometimes you even feel like you're talking to another creature. I also have this trouble. And after my first lecture in GDSE, my teammate asked me to go through the slides. I got really confused, actually. What the hell is the slide? I thought he was making a joke. And we also share different approaches to complete our tasks. From my personal experience, some of my Dutch and Indian teammates, they are really hardworking and they can focus on the tasks. And my French and Italian teammates, they are more creative and artistic. And regardless of what culture it is, there are always guys first drink beers and before the deadline. And the ways of communication also vary. Some cultures motivate everyone to talk to each other face-to-face openly and directly. However, some cultures, they are more reticent. Some of my friends even get a social phobia. They feel afraid and embarrassed to talk to each other. Now, let's have a look at our survey results. The first question is, how serious is the language barrier? The left of the bar chart is the result of software engineering teams, and the right is the result of non-software engineering teams. From the results, we can see most people don't think language barrier is a big issue, and misunderstandings don't matter. Quite a few guys think it is never an issue and they can always find some methods to help communicate. The second question is about cultural background. Most people know a lot about each other's cultural backgrounds very well, and quite a few people, they are not quite interested and familiar with each other's cultural. The third question is about training. Most people do not set up specific training. They just focus on their work and break barriers through private chatting or parties. One interesting thing is more non-software aware engineering teams never do training on the right side than software engineering teams. I think maybe because software engineering development method itself can be seen as a kind of training. And finally, we ask guys how much do they use their tools. The result is very interesting. Compared with the non-software engineering teams, more software engineering teams on the left use tools to help communication. I think good codes, documentations, and GitHub can help us solve communication conflicts. So here we give some possible solutions. The first is that we need to make most of the analysis tools, for example, MBTI and HBTI. They can help us analyze the team members' personal preferences. For both software engineering and non-software engineering teams, training always matters. It helps us to get familiar with each other's backgrounds and understand how to accept and respect each other's cultural backgrounds. There are several commercial products like Living Institute and Global Integration working for that. And finally, we should always practice, listen to each other, and be willing to communicate. We should always respect each other and don't discriminate. And we should always keep documentations and maybe embrace Agile and Scrum. And finally, drinking beers always helps us to communicate closely and build a good relationship. Thank you.